The picture you see was taken about 100 years ago in Sachsenplatz 14, Brigittenau. The family in the picture is the Sternberg family. The girl on the right, with a ribbon on her head, is my grandmother Adele, Deli. Next to her sits her mother, Helene. The other children are my grandmother's older brother Fritz and her younger sister Amalie, Mali. My grandmother grew up in this house. She played outside with her friends of different faiths and went to school with them. Her mother ran the family's textile shop nearby. When she was a teenager, my grandmother attended Brigittenau Bundesrealgymnasium. She was good in mathematics. Here you can see her standing outside of the school with her friends. In her youth, my grandmother went to a socialist Zionist youth movement where she met my grandfather Egon, who grew up in Josefstadt. They both wanted to go to Palestine after my grandfather will finish his doctorate in history in the University of Vienna. My grandmother studied to become a nurse and studied psychology as well. After the Anschluss, it became impossible for my grandfather as a Jew to receive his doctorate, and my grandparents were able to get a visa to Denmark. They left on the morning of November 9, 1938, through Prague. They stayed in Denmark until October 1943 and were then taken by a fisherman boat to the safe shores of neutral Sweden, where my mother Naomi was born in 1945. In 1947, my grandparents and my mother came to Palestine and joined my grandparents' friends in Kibbutz Ein Gev, near the Sea of Galilee. My grandparents lived a good life in the kibbutz. My grandmother's father, Chaim Shaul, and my grandmother's older brother Fritz received a certificate to go to Palestine and were able to flee from the Nazis as well. Unfortunately, my grandmother's mother, Helene, and my grandmother's younger sister, Mali, who you see on the picture, were stuck in Vienna. First, they had to move from their home in Brigittenau and change addresses in Vienna. Symbolically, their last address in Vienna was Judengasse 7 in the old Jewish ghetto in Innere Stadt. In October 1942, Helene and Mali were deported from Vienna to Theresienstadt ghetto, and exactly 2 years later, in October 1944, they were deported from Theresienstadt ghetto to Auschwitz and were murdered there. Mali was only 25. 10 years ago, we discovered that Mali had a daughter named Yudis that was born in Vienna in September 1942 and died in Theresienstadt when she was only 3.5 months old. My grandmother never knew this. Despite the huge tragedies they suffered, my grandparents were always praising the city of Vienna as a beautiful city and always regarded it as their own city.